So again, this is something of a preamble really, just to kick the first turn off. I did this slightly out of sequence because I was kind of planning what I was thinking I was going to try and do. And then of course realised, well, I need to roll for weather and I need to do all these other things. Reasonably typically, I then managed to roll a double 6 for the weather, which, if anybody knows the weather table, that's a rainstorm. Fortunately, it turns out the rainstorm was only on maps A and B, and we're on map C, so all good. And that allowed me to basically plan out what you see before you. Essentially, just what my plan was to try and hit the Italians. I'll just try and indicate this better. Hit the Italians here, here, and here initially. This one will actually be an overrun. I haven't done it yet, but this one would be part of an overrun. The rest would just be attacks. The Maletti one, we've got a load of artillery here, which we'll just try and do a nice big thump on Maletti just to DG them at the very least, I would hope. At the beginning of the turn, we also did 2 air missions. So the Hurricanes, which are up in Mersa Matruh, which is obviously off down this coast, they flew and tried to take on the CR-42s, the Italian fighters here. Sadly, the Italians beat them in the air supremacy roll. So the Hurricanes have retreated back to Mersa Matruh, minus a couple. Not a great result. Flip side was the Gladiators flew up this way towards Bardia and took on the SM, were they 79s? I can't remember, the Italian, famous looking Italian bomber, fighter bomber. And they had much better success against them, again inflicting casualties on them, so the Italian support air is out. But we have no fighter cover, so trickier for us to use our air, I suppose, which would have been nice. So at this point, as I said, the essential idea is we hit this here, try and cut this coastal road. We also hit this unit here. If I just drag this back a little bit, in an ideal world, we'll maybe be allowed to get an exploit maybe, and have another go at this unit as well, which is a less of a unit than that unit, so that would clear that road if we could manage to do both of those in one turn. Maybe slightly optimistic. I've got 2 armoured units in reserve here, which are still on their combat side, but they have movement allowances which would allow them to kind of come up here and possibly even just circumvent this 2nd Italian unit and head off down over here. Again, I'm going to have to move the camera slightly just to show you the top end of that. But when we get up to sort of halfway house, I'm kind of thinking we may well be able to put a second stop on the supply road here, from somewhere up around the Hellfire Pass or halfway house. The idea again being obviously to cut supply for all of this Italian force back here. And then we'll just kind of see how that all pans out. We do have reinforcements coming from the Commonwealth perspective, which is just as well, because kind of I was doing some of this stuff, and if I go the other way and look back down that road, you can kind of see that there's only a Selby force sitting there all alone on the coast road between the Italians and Mersa Matruh. So yeah, we need something to cope that road. I have got units that I haven't moved yet. As I said, there's still a few little things to be sorted out and to try and work out. Supply is part of that. You can kind of see here, obviously I would have expended both divisions' supply to get their motorised units moving. So those 2 units will be going back down the road to Mersa, refueling, coming back again. But I also need to get some supply within range of this HQ to pay for combat, etc, etc. So all that good stuff to be sorted out. But that just kind of gives an overview of that initial plans and ideas and where we're going.